In this video, we will take a look at how you can understand how an SQL statement can be employed in a Python script. Throughout this course, we have used the most simplest and basic SQL query. In this video, we will show how we can use ArcGIS Pro to help create and understand slightly more complex SQL queries. We're in our ArcPy Definition Query APRX. I'm going to turn off all the layers and turn on place names, and we'll right click and go to properties and into definition query. If there are any definition queries set, you can turn them off or you can delete them. We're going to create a new definition query and we can see the SQL builder. Let's look at a simple SQL statement. We'll select the field and we'll select F class. And we'll leave it as is equal to, and we'll select village. Now let's click this SQL toggle button here, and we can see the SQL statement. We saw very similar in the course where county equaled Kildare, Meath, Dublin or Wicklow. And in the Python script, all we did was wrap our statement in double quotes. I'm going to remove that for now. Toggle back the SQL, and you can use any operator from this drop down. Not equal to, we'll show you how to do not equal to with the greater than and the less than signs. Begins with, we'll change our field to name and we'll supply in Bally, and we'll toggle on the SQL and we can see what this statement looks like. We have our field name followed by a like keyword, and wrapped in single quotes we have Bally followed by a percentage sign, and this percentage sign represents 0 or more characters. This query would return all features that have a name beginning with Bally. Let's click apply and click apply, and we can see all our Ballys. I'll click OK actually for now, and I'm going to open up the attribute table. And we can see how the definition query is applied. We'll go back into our definition query and click edit. From our operator drop down, we can also do does not begins with. We can see that it is not like. We also have ends with, which will switch the percentage sign to the start of the text. And we saw in the course the includes the values. If we use the drop down here, we can tick several boxes and click the SQL, and we can see that it uses the in keyword. We can also use does not include, which will just be not in. As needed, you should come into ArcGIS Pro and construct an SQL statement and see how it is applied. In your Python script, all you have to do is wrap these as text strings to create SQL statements. There's no need to go through the rest of that list. We can see below in our attribute table that we have village, towns and hamlets that have Bally at the start of their name. Let's go back to begins with and put in Bally, and let's add a clause. We'll say and F class is equal to village. Now we'll click the SQL toggle and we can see we have an and statement. We have our name like Bally with the percentage sign and F class equals village. I'll click apply. I'm going to click apply here to set the definition query. And we can see we have been reduced to where F class is equal village and the name begins with Bally. We'll edit our definition query. I'm going to select the where, and I'm also going to select beside the and here, and I'm going to group this selection. I'm going to add another clause. I'm going to select or name begins with, we'll put in rat, we'll add a clause, and the F class is equal to town. And I'm also going to group these. Now we'll toggle on the SQL. We can see there are now parentheses involved. We have our first statement where it was name like Bally and F class equal village. And now we have an or. The name is like rat. So the name begins with rat and the feature class is called town. I'll click apply and click apply. And we can see one town has been added, rat drum. Let's close our layer properties and our attribute table. And we'll turn off place names and we will open county boundaries. There's just one more data type I'd like to show because it does cause issues, and that is the date format. There's currently no date field in our data. If we go to analysis up the top and go to our Python window, and down the bottom right click and go load code, go into our folders and into our ArcPy definition query and into Python scripts and click on add date field.py and click OK. Here we're going to import date time because we're going to add some dates. We're accessing our ArcGIS project that's open. We're getting the def query map as a map object and our county boundaries as a layer object. We're then going to add a field to our county boundaries called date field, and this is a date type field. We will then use the ArcPy update cursor on our county boundaries layer. We're only interested in the object ID and the date field, and for each row in the cursor, so for each feature, if the object ID equals 1, we'll set a date. If it equals 2, we'll set a different date. And we'll set a different date for object ID 3 and 4. And then we call the cursor.update row to update each row. Hit enter and enter again. We'll close the Python window and we will right click on county boundaries and go to attribute table. And we can see the date field has been added and populated with some values. We'll right click on county boundaries and go to properties, and we're in our definition query. We'll click new definition query. We'll select our date field, and from the drop down we can select a date and time, pick any of choice there, and we'll go into the SQL. So you can see here the date field is equal timestamp and then our date and time. And you can simply copy and paste this into a Python script, create a string variable, and there's your SQL statement. If you look through the geospatial forums, it is littered with people asking, how do I apply dates to a definition query using ArcPy? And here's how. We can make this a bit more complex. We can say date field is on or after, and let's pick the 1st of January 2023. And we'll add a clause, and our date field is on or before, and we'll select the 1st of June. Let's go into our SQL, and we can see it is date field greater or equal to the timestamp and date field less than or equal to the timestamp. I can see I actually put down 2024 when I meant to put 2023. I'll click apply and click apply. And we can see that Kildare is the only county that satisfies where the date field is between the 1st of January 2023 and the 1st of June 2023. If you are ever stuck implementing an SQL statement for ArcGIS Pro for definition queries or for where clauses in certain tools such as the search cursor or the export features tool, you can always open up ArcGIS Pro, select a layer, go into the definition query tab, make the SQL as complex as it needs to be, and you can just copy that SQL code and paste it into your Python script. In this video, we saw how you can build from simple to more complex SQL statements in ArcGIS Pro. The definition query tab in the layer properties has an SQL toggle where you can go in and see the SQL behind the query. You can copy this query and paste it into your Python script and wrap it in double quotes and assign it to a variable as a string. This will represent your SQL statement and can be used in definition queries and for geoprocessing tools. In this video, we will take a look at the Python CIM, CIM, which stands for Cartographic Information Model, to set, access and update definition queries for a layer. We are back in our ArcPy Definition Query APRX. The only layer we have turned on are our county boundaries. On the left hand side, if I right click and go to Properties and it's a definition query, we see that there are no definition queries defined. Click OK. Go into the Analysis tab. And on the left, click on the Python drop down and select Python window. We will first set a variable called APRX and set this to equal our open APRX document using arcpy.mp.arcgis project and supplying in the current string. We will then get a map object from our APRX using the list maps function, and we'll supply in the name of our map, and we want the first element returned from the list maps. From our map object, we want to access the county boundary layer, so we'll use the list layers function and supply in county boundaries, and we want the first element returned, which will be our county boundaries layer, and we'll do layer.name just to check that out, and we have our county boundaries. Now we're going to get the CIM for the layer. We'll call this layer underscore CIM. We'll set that equal to our layer, and we want to use the get definition function and supply in v3. v3 just means we're using ArcGIS Pro 3 series. If you're using ArcGIS Pro 2 series, you put in v2. We'll click enter, and if we print layer sim, we can see we have a sim feature layer object. Just as a tip, if you really want to see the CIM, export the county boundaries layer to a layer file, a .lyrx, and open that layer file in a notepad or in something like Notepad++, where you can view the file as JSON. From that JSON, you will note that our layer sim has a property called feature table, and within our feature table there is a definition expression. Click enter. We can see that the definition expression is an empty string. There's also a definition expression name, which is also an empty string at the moment. We can set a definition expression. We'll set it to be county equals Kildare, and we know we have to wrap Kildare in single quotes. And then we'll use the layer set definition function, and we need to supply in our layer CIM and click enter, and we can see the map changed. We have Kildare, and if we right click into our county boundaries and go to properties, we can see we now have a definition query set where county equals Kildare. And notice by default it gave us the query 1 name. We'll click OK. Let's update the name. We're going to use our definition expression name, and we'll set that equal to Kildare. And again, we'll set the definition, supplying in our layer CIM. We'll right click into county boundaries, go to properties, and we can see it has been renamed to Kildare. Click OK. If we take a look at our layer CIM and our feature table, and we take a look at the definition filter choices and click enter, we can see it is an empty list. It might make sense that this is an empty list because we have not refreshed the definition for our sim. What I mean by refreshing is we haven't got a new definition in our Python code. So let's do that. Let's go layer sim and get layer.getDefinition, adding in v3. And now let's take a look at the definition filter choices. It is still empty. I'm going to manually remove the current definition query. Actually, I'm going to delete it. And click OK. And now I'm going to manually create a definition query. County is equal to Kildare. Click OK. And now I'll get the layer definition again and print the definition query filter choices. And this time we can see that we have a sim definition filter object. Now, I never said this sim was easy, and you should only ever really use a CIM when you really need to, when you cannot do it directly with ArcPy. Let's take a further look at this sim definition filter. Let's set a variable called Q1 to equal our definition filter choices. And we're only interested in the first element. Now, when I print Q1, we have a sim definition filter object. If I type in Q1 dot, we can see there are two properties, definition expression and name. Let's check the definition expression. It is county equals Kildare, and the name is query 1 because we set this manually. I'm going to right click on county boundaries and go to sharing and save as layer file. I'm going to go to folders, ArcPy-DQ, output, and save this layer X file in the output folder. I have Notepad++ installed, but you can open this in normal Notepad or any other text editor. I'm going to navigate to my C drive and into ArcPy_DQ and into our output. I'm going to open up the county boundaries layer X. And I'm going to set the language to JSON. Now, if I look closely here, we can see feature table and we can see our definition filter choices. I'll zoom in. We can see here, feature table. We have our current definition expression and the definition expression name, and then the definition filter choices. It is a list and we have one entry, our query 1 county equals Kildare. We're going to copy this dictionary and we are going to head back to our APRX. I'm going to create a Q2 for query 2 and I'm going to set that to equal our dictionary that we just copied. We're going to set the name to Dublin and we'll set the definition expression to county equals Dublin. And we will hit enter and enter again. We now have our Q2. We're then going to get our layer sim feature table definition filter choices and we are going to append our Q2 in. And if we print our definition filter choices to screen, we can see the dictionary here. We will now set our definition for our layer and supply in our layer sim object and hit enter. And if we go up to county boundaries and right click and go to properties, we can see that we now have a second definition query there. Click OK. We're going to re-get the layer definition. Layer sim equals layer.get definition. We'll supply in v3. Hit enter. And let's print our definition filter choices to screen. And we can see that Instead of getting our dictionary, we have got our definition filter object. If you are using the CIM for definition queries, I would populate the definition filter choices list first and then set your definition query through the definition expression and definition expression name properties to match one of the definition filter choices. At the moment, I really see no need to use the Python CIM to mess around with definition queries. As we saw in this course, ArcPy handles it far easier, but the Python CIM can be good to get into places where ArcPy is not so good as, such as individual symbologies, for example. In this video, we saw how we can use the Python CIM, the Cartographic Information Model, to access and manipulate definition queries for a layer.